Another free agent is off the market, and his announcement may have caught Kaulig Racing off guard. How's it going, y'all? My name is Eric. Welcome to Out of the Groove. Happy Friday. I know some fans don't like the name Silly Season. It's too juvenile. But the past couple years especially, I think NASCAR Silly Season has lived up to that name. Last year, Kyle Busch leaves JGR. Tyler Reddick gets snatched up by Toyota. RCR saying the timing couldn't be worse. This season, some guy named Shane Van Gisbergen shows up, wins Chicago, and suddenly becomes one of the hottest free agents on the market. And yesterday, we were hit with yet another silly season surprise. We'll get to that in just a moment. First off, if you're new to the channel and you love NASCAR, be sure to hit that subscribe button down below. We cover the latest and greatest every single day. Real quick, I want to talk about the Superstar Racing experience one final time because last night, Ryan Newman clinched the Season 3 SRX Championship at Lucas Oil Speedway. Marco Andretti, last year's champ, Brad Keselowski, tied for second in points. Last night, it was Jonathan Davenport, the local hero, the ringer, so to speak, who got the win. I had a blast watching Thursday Night Thunder this year. I think the SRX truly found its place this season. They sort of shadowed the NASCAR schedule the past 6 weeks. It was great. When I visited Michigan a couple weeks ago, I was able to go see Berlin Raceway on a Thursday night, a track I'd been meaning to check out for years, and then drive an hour or two east to Michigan International Speedway to see a NASCAR track I'd never seen before. And if you saw my video from Berlin, that was maybe the largest crowd that short track has ever seen, or at least in recent history. I know the TV ratings were down this year, mainly because they moved from broadcast TV to cable, but I still believe the SRX is a huge win for grassroots short track racing and complements other major American motorsports very nicely. So I'm looking forward to seeing what happens in 2024. Hopefully the SRX and ESPN can grow their relationship and can continue to evolve. I heard that they're already talking to different racetracks about potentially hosting events next year. So I'm especially looking forward to that 2024 SRX schedule. Before we get to the latest NASCAR free agency news, let's take one of your comments from Out of the Crowd. Yesterday, we took a hard look at the NASCAR Cup Series playoff bubble, talked all about who is the best shot at winning Watkins Glen this weekend. We haven't talked much about points though. Bubba Wallace currently holds the final spot by only 28 points over Daniel Suarez. Ahead of him, Brad Keselowski, Kevin Harvick. We haven't discussed them much in recent weeks because for the most part, they've been 100, close to 150 points to the good. Without the win in your in format, they would have been locked in a couple of weeks ago. But because the format is what it is, and because we have kind of two wild card tracks coming up, Watkins Glen, a road course, which caters to drivers with very specific set of skills, and then Daytona, which caters to literally any driver who can breathe, Keselowski and Harvick are not safe. I got this comment yesterday from just a random NASCAR fan. They said, I think that everyone forgot that Harvick and Keselowski may be in trouble if Allmendinger or Elliott or even other drivers win. I think we will get a repeat winner in one of the races, that's just obvious, but my gut tells me that this could be a weird year, and we will see. I appreciate the comment. I don't think it's obvious that we'll see a repeat winner. I mean, I picked Chase Elliott to win Watkins Glen. That would be a new winner. And Daytona, just last year, I understand there was a wild crash towards the end, but Austin Dillon won his way into the playoffs in the final week of the regular season. It could happen again. And if that does happen, Kevin Harvick or Brad Keselowski will miss the playoffs. And that would be a huge storyline. Neither driver has a win, but they've both been fairly consistent. RFK has been a huge story. Their rise, especially Buescher winning 2 races in a row recently. Keselowski helping build a new foundation over there. And Kevin Harvick, this is his final Cup Series season. He's a future Hall of Famer. He's a former Cup Series champion. It would sting for him to not make the playoffs in his final year. But Stewart-Haas has struggled. Harvick and Rodney Childers, that 4 team, have been the only bright spot out of SHR this year. If they miss the playoffs, if we got 0 Stewart-Haas cars in the postseason, that would be a huge narrative. So yeah, I appreciate the comment. Just a random NASCAR fan. If someone like Elliott, Allmendinger, Bowman, or Cindric wins this weekend, it's going to be a long week for Brad Keselowski and Kevin Harvick. Now let's talk silly season. Last night, Austin Hill revealed that he has signed a multi-year deal to stay with Richard Childress Racing in the Xfinity Series. The deal was announced on NASCAR Race Hub FS1. Austin Hill also released this short video on social media, hyping up the announcement. In the official statement, Austin Hill said he was presented with multiple opportunities, some of which we'll discuss in a moment, but decided RCR was the best fit. Hill said, quote, "In looking at the next step of my career, I was presented with several opportunities, but it all came down to being surrounded by racers who want to win, believe in me, and will do their best to give me every opportunity to be successful. I want to thank Richard Childress and everyone at RCR and ECR Engines. I'm excited to race for wins and championships within the NASCAR Xfinity Series for years to come." He had several opportunities to choose from. One of those opportunities was likely a Cup Series opportunity with Kaulig Racing, because Chris Rice, team president over at Kaulig, tweeted this last night after the announcement. Wait, what? With not one but two question marks. This could be playful sarcasm. Chris Rice he's a funny guy. I think he's fairly lighthearted. But recent reports as recent as just a couple weeks ago, linked Austin Hill to Kaulig Racing. He was likely their number one candidate to drive the number 31 Cup car next season. Now he's off the board. He's staying with Richard Childress Racing. So, Chris Rice could be playful there, could be a little sarcastic, but for sure, this changes Kaulig Racing's plans. First and foremost, though, this is a huge deal for Richard Childress Racing. Their Cup lineup is pretty much set. Kyle Busch will be there at least a few more years. Austin Dillon can probably race as long as he wants to. It sounds like this is a multi-year Xfinity Series deal, but I'm sure they all see a potential path forward into the Cup Series at some point or another. Look, Austin Hill is a commodity. He's one of those increasingly rare combinations of both talent and funding. He's got sponsorship from Bennett, from United Rentals. They seem to follow him everywhere he goes. He's got some support behind him. Is it like Cup Series level support? Maybe, maybe not, but it's support. He's got some money. But I wouldn't call him a pay driver. I wouldn't use any derogatory terms to describe him because he also has a ton of talent. From 2019 to 2021 in the Craftsman Truck Series, he won 8 races, was a championship contender every single season. Last year in his first Xfinity Series season, he won twice. This year, I already mentioned it, he's got 4 wins. He's leading the regular season standings. He's also 29 years old. A little old maybe for an Xfinity Truck Series prospect, but one could also argue he's more experienced than your typical 18-year-old high-ceiling, low-basement driver. Austin Hill is a commodity, and for Richard Childress Racing to hold on to him, he's their future. That's a big deal for that race team. But now let's turn our attention again to Kaulig, because whether Chris Rice was being sarcastic or not, the truth is Kaulig Racing wanted Austin Hill, and it appears they're not going to get him. I thought this news was interesting. Justin Haley, current Kaulig driver, he's leaving for Rick Ware at the end of this season. He was on Corey LaJoie's podcast, Stacking Pennies, this week, and he said that he believed he and Kaulig could have gotten a 1-year deal done, but that's not what Justin Haley wanted. Haley wanted more long-term stability. Justin Haley ultimately chose to sign a deal with Rick Ware Racing because he wanted to control his future. I think he could have continued to try and negotiate with Kaulig. Maybe he would have caved and taken that 1-year deal. Maybe they would have caved and given him a 2 or 3 year offer. But Justin Haley didn't want to wait for something to happen and risk having the rug pulled out from him last minute. Instead, he took control, chose to go to Rick Ware. Ironically, now Kaulig, it appears, has fallen into the exact situation that Justin Haley was able to avoid. They were probably close to getting something done with Austin Hill. They were confident, only for Austin Hill to go back to RCR. And now, it's mid-August, getting pretty late in the game. Austin Hill has a deal. Michael McDowell, Todd Gilliland just signed deals. Corey LaJoie has a deal. Josh Berry has a deal. Shane Van Gisbergen has a deal. Justin Haley is gone. Who's left? What options does Kaulig Racing have at this point? Fortunately for them, there are a few. Let's look in-house first. Chandler Smith, in his first Xfinity Series season, he has a win. He's been good. I don't think he's Cup Series ready, at least not full-time. Early in the season, he had a few really good runs. I remember being impressed when he didn't back down to Kyle Busch. But Chandler Smith just turned 21 years old. I don't think he's ready for a full-time Cup ride, at least not in a 25th place car. Outside of the Chevy camp, why not Zane Smith? Front Row Motorsports made their decision. They chose Todd Gilliland, Michael McDowell over Zane. Guy's won a ton of Truck Series races in recent years, is the defending Truck Series champion. He's ready for Cup, I believe. Would he fit in well with Kaulig Racing? I'm not really sure. Look, I'm very high on Zane Smith. I see him as arguably the top prospect in the lower ranks right now. I don't know if a team like SHR is talking to Zane Smith. If I'm Zane, I don't know that I'd jump at a Kaulig Racing opportunity. Like Kaulig's a decent team, but they aren't a premier Chevy team. They're not Trackhouse, RCR, or Hendrick. If Stuart Haas with that 10 car was knocking on Zane Smith's door, honestly, I'd look there first. I know they've struggled, but at least they're a Ford partner. They get direct manufacturer support the way Kaulig really doesn't. So, I'm not sure if I'm Zane Smith. Is Kaulig really an appealing destination? I don't know. There's a ton of rumors surrounding Carson Hocevar. Could he go to Stuart Haas Racing? Could he go to Spire next year? Hocevar currently drives a Chevy in trucks. And side note, I knew he'd won 3 races this year. I didn't realize until looking at the stats, Carson Hocevar has the most truck wins of anyone this year. I didn't realize there were no other 3-time winners. It's Carson Hocevar among the regulars in the heat of a Truck Series playoff battle now. But he drives a Chevy. Could a switch to Kaulig be more seamless, be more natural? I could see Carson Hocevar to Kaulig as a real possibility. The last name I want to mention, I'm sure many of you mentioned him first, is Noah Gragson. This news, Austin Hill re-signing with RCR, may have been a huge break for Noah Gragson. He still needs sponsorship. I know he has a couple of pretty loyal partners. I'm not sure what their relationship is like right now. And of course, Gragson still needs to be reinstated by NASCAR. But he has a previous relationship with Kaulig Racing. You can't deny the success he had his final year, especially in the Xfinity Series. Like, the dude is Cup Series worthy, in my opinion. I for sure wanted to see him get at least another year to see if he could learn and start to figure it out more. Is Kaulig the kind of team that would take that risk? Maybe, maybe not. But it's a name worth mentioning. So those are just the first 4 names off the top of my head that come to mind. Chandler Smith, Zane Smith, no relation, Carson Hocevar, and Noah Gragson. But is there someone I'm not thinking of? Is there another driver out there that you think Kaulig Racing could sign for next season? And I'm only talking about the 31 car. There's always the chance that AJ Allmendinger doesn't come back. Like, Kaulig could have 2 open seats, and we're not even talking about the 16 right now. If that's the case, if Kaulig truly has 2 seats to fill, and Austin Hill last second ends up going to RCR, like, Kaulig is scrambling a little right now. It's late in the game. A lot of drivers have already signed deals for next season. Kaulig's not going to get first pick, most likely. Let me know what you think down in the comment section below. Were you surprised at all by this Austin Hill news? What do you think Kaulig Racing does next? Leave a comment down in the comment section below. Thank you all so much for watching this video. Leave a like if you enjoyed. Again, if you're new to the channel, you love NASCAR, you're in the right place. Hit that subscribe button down below. And thank you so much to my very generous Patreon supporters. Have a wonderful Friday, y'all. I will see you later this weekend. We've got Watkins Glen, the second to last regular season race. Man, I cannot wait to watch. I'm counting down the hours until Sunday afternoon. Thanks for tuning in, y'all. I'll see you again real soon.